Okay. Pressing buttons. Let's see. There we are. I hope. Welcome to the 52 Miniatures live stream. It is Sunday the 3rd. And, the sun's shining when you're not in a bunker. Welcome. Just make sure everything's working out. Oh, there we are. Beautiful. Okay, there's a chat going. People are here already. Hello, Martin. Great to have you in control. Martin is the lovely administrator of not only this chat, but the 52 Miniatures Discord. And general, just a very pleasant person. Hi, Martin. Phil, nice to see you. Welcome. And Mark from Montana, good morning. I'm not doing coffee. I've got my tea, as per usual. In the, I guess I should be getting more mugs so that people don't get confused over what stream they're watching, because everything just looks the same, and I'm wearing the same clothes and I'm drinking the same tea out of the same cup. Yeah. Hello, Magpie and Adventures in Crafting. Ben B, welcome. Martin hears noises and sees things. Excellent. That's a good start. Jamie West says, I hope the weekend's treating you all well. Yes. The weekend is kind of starting today. I had to work yesterday a little bit. And so I'm gonna not work today. I'm just streaming, and then probably won't work tomorrow, and then see how we go. But I'm looking forward to. It's been a pretty intense week doing all kinds of hobby things, which has been a lot of fun. But I look forward to maybe just sleeping in just a little bit. Cassis is going to listen to my beautiful voice while doing the dishes. I appreciate it. I hope the dishes will treat you well. Good morning, Marcus from Portland. And good afternoon, morning, Alison. Welcome, Alison. Nice to see you. Sasha asks, Twitch versus YouTube streaming. Good question. I've never really watched any. I think I've been on Twitch, like actually watched things on Twitch twice. And I haven't really understood the point of me doing streams on Twitch, seeing as most of my crowd is already here on YouTube. And I kind of dislike confusing people. I guess there seems to be a bit of a thing where if people who sit and do more of like a longer hobby, you sit and paint for a long time or something like that, maybe I guess in a good way, it's a little bit feels a little more informal on Twitch. But for me, like on YouTube, I just I have the channel and I can have the things and I can go live and not have to bother with okay, everyone go over to Twitch. People say that doing live streams on your YouTube ruins your algorithm thing for the regular videos, but the way I see it, there's none of it makes sense anyway, really. So why bother trying to make sense out of it and trying to, I just feel like streaming, and so I stream on YouTube because that's where I have the channel. Hello, Frederick. Welcome. Big Poor Man finally caught up a stream. Yes, welcome. I hope you enjoy it. Sasha asks me what I do for work. In theory, I'm a photographer for both still and moving images. Admittedly, work has been very scarce since the pandemic. So I'm on about probably 50. If I'm lucky, I'm on about 50% of what I was pre the pandemic. And now all of a sudden there's also the economy. And so, seeing as my work was a bit of it relatively commercial, and the first thing a company will do when economics aren't great is like cut out the commercials. So we'll see. It's a good thing I get to paint minis every now and again to just not think about that all too much. Phil says, "Good good afternoon, maybe painting guru, and the rest of the 52 crew." Yeah, there's lots of patrons in here. That's great, and thank you, Phil. I a very unintentional guru, I must admit. I don't mind having a sect, as gurus usually do, but if I can just be one of those, a bit, kind of more of a fake guru, I'll be fine with the guru stamp. Hello, Mai. Good evening, Luke from Vietnam. Good evening. I've been to Vietnam once, a very long time ago. I was 18. So that's half a lifetime ago, even more. Ernst, welcome. Hello, Charles from New York. Welcome. Bern from Lübeck. I was in Lübeck as well for sort of pre-pandemic, I think, just for a weekend. Beautiful city, definitely. Mikey R, hello, says, "I'm torn between trying to finish my design for an audio dynamics processor and knowing I should really go to the gym." Can you please tell me more about your design of the audio dynamics processor? Are we talking a compressor? And is it a hardware or a software design? Please, Mikey, tell me. Hello, Lenrik from Germany, and you are from Finland. Mark is all for content creators who don't like to confuse people. I confuse myself without any help. See, I'm very good at that as well. So, I recognize that feeling. I'm kind of surprised that anyone really gets anything out of my videos, apart from rambling and confusion, because from my point of view, there's a lot of rambling and confusion. Mikey says, "I think YouTube is fine for a talkie stream." Yeah, I don't mind it. I enjoy it here. I don't see the difference really. It's just like there's just two different platforms. Hello, Adrian, as well, and Alwinka from Sweden. Now we're two Swedes at least. That's good stuff. Mai says, "Photography. Explain why the videos are visually satisfying and easy to watch." Yes, so that's the big explanation. I own cameras, and I've used them for about 20 years professionally, and I also know how to edit. So these things help, definitely. Dave Smith, love a Sunday hangout, top content as per usual. Thank you. Di from sunny South Wales. I didn't know the sun actually came out in Wales, but congratulations. Good morning, Colvin from Georgia. And Seb, hi. Welcome. I'm glad you made it. 1 point in crafting from Ohio. I've always wanted to go to Ohio, only because I like saying Ohio. It sounds nice. It rolls off the tongue nicely. Ohio. Doesn't even, hardly even touches the tongue. It just goes like straight out. Today we're trying to 3D print some files that might be too big for the build plate. I guess scale them down. or buy a bigger printer. Sounds like a bit of a waste, but good luck with that. Ain from Paris, welcome. And Konstantinos from Athens, welcome. And Nob Makes. Hello, Nob. For those of you that haven't checked out Nob's channel, you should definitely check out his channel. He does all kind of Disney rip. I mean, is a great crafter, and you should definitely check him out. What I'm working on today, Knob, is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I finished off 2 videos this past week, kind of a thing. One's going up on Thursday, and then I did another thing that's going to be the next video because, but it's summer over here, and my kids' school is closed down. So I try and, at least I'm trying to make some videos ahead of time, so I can then also spend free time with my son because I can't lock him up at school and hide him and then go to work. So I've been working hard for this week, and now I'm just sort of sitting here on the stream. I built a beaky marine, one of these from this thing. Yeah, it's a very sprue-alicious box. There's lots of sprue in there. So I've assembled and painted my first beaky marine, and I've also done a set of modular river tiles, which is going to be the next video. And if you're interested, in front of me here, there's some scatter terrain that I'm trying to, like sci-fi scatter terrain that is staring at me because it hasn't been painted. That's sort of what I've been doing for the past week now. Good to have you here. Jamie says, hello, dropping in before opening my game store. It's Conquest Day, so I thought your video title was appropriate. First of all, congratulations on having your own game store. That sounds like, what else do is there anything else you need in life? I don't think so. And then Conquest, yes, it's the title of the video stream. It's always nice to have some kind of topic that eventually will sort of pop out about 5 minutes, and everyone goes like, "Oh yeah, that was why we were here. I forgot." And I have some. I've been checking out this game called Conquest. I think there's like 2 versions. There's a war game and there's a skirmish game using the same miniatures. And I just think everything looks kind of interesting. So I wanted to have a bit of a chat today, maybe a bit later on once I'm a bit warm in my shoes. I'm actually already very warm in my shoes. I'm going to take my feet out of my shoes. Excuse me for a sec. Because I'd like to hear a little bit about people's experiences with Conquest. If anyone is here and has played Conquest, which if you have Conquest Day at your game store, I'm hope you probably would have played it, because I'd like to hear about it. I'm interested. It's just I hardly even knew it existed, and then all of a sudden there's this game with pretty awesome looking miniatures and stuff that just for me appeared out of nowhere. So I'm very intrigued. Chu Han says life is rambling and confusion. Spot on. Konstantinos is going to see the stream tonight after work with a glass of wine. I probably make more sense after you've had a glass of wine. It's like, finally, I understand what he's on about. Ernst always assumes that my ramblings are Taoist koans disguised as ramblings. Certainly. Okay, sorry. This is I just need to talk to Mikey here for a little while. Please, if you're scared of things not miniature hobbyists, then just sit like this for a little while. Hi, it's an analog compressor, but it has aspects of upward expander and harmonic exciter. I envision it's really for tracking instruments or vocals rather than a mix bus compressor. Fabulous. I'd love this kind of stuff. But I have plenty hiding in a unused studio. Compressors are fun. So congratulations, Mikey, for building your own one. But says, hi, Alex, finally made it back again to listen to the one-way conversation. Tell me about it. Yeah. It's like that camera over there doesn't say much. BP Custom Creations, hello from Japan. Hello, how's the hobby thriving in Japan? I would be very interested to hear. It feels like there could be potentially a very interesting like market in Japan, but I've never really heard of any wargaming going on in Japan. Hello, Girl Painting, and welcome. Good morning, TM Paints and from Texas, and Noel from Poland. Joe Mountain says, great to catch you as I prep for a barbecue party I'm hosting in New Jersey. I'm working with a lot of browns lately in my upcoming miniatures, Lord of the Rings in particular. Do you have favorites? Favorite browns? Yes, I have favorite browns, I think. Browns is one of those great colors to mix a bit on your own, I reckon, because if you just mix things together, usually you end up with brown. It's strange when you put all your, like, if you do your washing weird, like you just put the wrong colors in on the wrong temperatures, and you do your, like, you're washing everything, for some reason usually turns out purple. When you do the same thing with paints, everything usually turns out brown. I'm sorry. No, I have, let's see, sorry. Where's my browns? I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to find my favorite browns. Obviously, I'm a big fan of scale color paints, and I think if we're going to talk about favorite browns, this is not so much the brand. I'm taking some of these out just as examples of why maybe browns can be fun sometimes. I do have a favorite kind of brown. Unfortunately, I've worn it out, so I can't actually even say what this color is called. It's a Warfront paint. It's a brown. But I totally like. Can you see that? Maybe over here somewhere. There's a bottle. No, it's all black. My God. The camera's died. No, there we are. It's better, I think. Is it still black? Yes. No, there we are. Like there's supposed to be a text here saying, you know, this is whatever the paint is called, but they use really, really bad inks or whatever you want to call it. You know, it just rubs out real quickly. That's my favorite brown. So unfortunately, I can't tell you what it's called. But I was actually going to be a bit more interesting than that and say that I very much like to tint the browns for different reasons. So this is a favorite brown. It's called Orange Leather. It's actually sort of kind of like an orange desert sand kind of a color, but technically it's a brown. This is also a favorite brown, which is called Black Leather, but it's kind of like brown, black, purple. And that's why brown can be fun, because usually you can tint it to, like, you can have a really warm, almost orange brown, or you can have like a really cold purple, violet brown. But I do have a tendency to always sort of cool my browns down a bit. So I pretty much take any brown and I just put some violet in it, and all of a sudden it turns into a brown that I like. But this has also been a favorite lately, a more sort of orange brown for some highlights. I'm sure I just maybe confused you a little bit. And this didn't work out as well. It needs to go up. Is that better? Right. That's a bit better. So this is the Mysterious Paint, which is my favorite brown. Yeah. Hello, Oystein from Norway. Okay, there we are. Raja says, just want to say I really enjoy your content for the chill vibes. Hope for more of them. I thank you. I appreciate it. DJ Marquito says, yo, what's up, my peeps? There's tease up. That's what's up. Kung Frolic says, have not played Conquest. The figs look good though. Yeah. We'll have a look at some miniatures a bit later. But I agree. They're a larger scale, the miniatures. They're not 28 millimeter miniatures. They're like 32 or whatever, something like that. They're which is interesting. It's kind of cool, but it's also a little bit painting oneself into a corner. Like most war games are 28 millimeter miniatures, and so you can use your miniatures for a lot of different games sometimes. And then, so when you work at a different scale, then all of a sudden it's not really readily available to do anything else than play a specific game with those miniatures. On the other hand, it's, if you really like a game, then that doesn't matter. The thing here is that I've never seen it. I haven't seen it at the game store, and I've never seen anyone play it. But it's sort of, yeah. We'll get there. We're still hanging out with Phil and his teapot and snacks. I don't have any snacks. I think probably not having snacks is a good idea, because otherwise you'd just be hearing a lot of crunchy noises. And as Replicant says, I've not played Conquest yet either. Rules and models look very promising, though. That's a thing as well. The rules, I've just kind of browsed a little bit, but they do seem promising. Yeah. Conquest 2012 says, hi there. Any advice for applying washers, or rather not applying them? Is it a good idea to just apply them more surgically? Trick question, really. It depends on the wash, I guess. But if let's use a typical Citadel type wash. I'm going to roll over here again and get what can I get? I can get this. It's called Reichland Flesh Shade, which is a Games Workshop wash. And so with the wash like this, or with any wash, sometimes you put on like a paint, this lovely orange leather, and then you wash it with this flesh shade. And then you repaint on some of the raised bit with the original paint, and then maybe you highlight that with yet another paint. That's sort of a bit of a traditional way of painting. And in that case, you can just smear the wash everywhere. I kind of don't like it, because there can be nuances. Like when I paint, usually I can have accidentally kind of, or on purpose, use different paints on the same surface. And like with maybe wanting cooler shadows, but not cooler highlights. So I could maybe want to put on a cool wash, but I don't want that to get on the highlights and just tint everything in like a purple or a blue. I just want it in the shaded areas. And so I tend to use washes kind of surgically. There is, of course, tons of exceptions, like if you have a chainmail and you paint that with a silver metallic paint, and then you just whack tons of black wash on it, and it'll just look great. And you don't have to be surgical at all. Or if you actually want to tint the entire surface, sort of uniformly tinted. So I'd say try and see what you like. But I enjoy being more surgical. And what I would do then is just try and get the wash only in the shaded areas, or where I want it to sort of pull up and form a bit of a, shadow. and then clean my brush in water, like wipe it off on some tissue, and then just try and sort of streak out the edge a little bit, so you get sort of like a gradient. So it's not just like regular paint and then a wash and then there's just a straight line in between. But that requires a little bit of practice and stuff. But yeah, I usually go surgical. I also usually go oil washes, and then you don't have to really. Then you can work in a totally different way, which is just applying it everywhere and then clean off whatever bits of it you don't like. But that's a different story. CH Box, quick hello from France again. I'll take the occasion to answer why I subscribe to your Patreon and channel. Because you're a good person, you're calm, talented, and you deeply want to share and help. Well, thank you, CH Box. I appreciate it. I've been having a bit of a discussion going on my Discord channel, which is where most of my patrons, some don't really feel a need to hang out on the Discord, but some do. And I've just been a little bit intrigued lately as to I'm just interested in why people join and also why people leave. From my point of view, sometimes I get tons of great feedback of like your videos are, this is nice, or stuff like that, but not always. But I very, very rarely get a sort of feedback on why people choose to leave the Patreon. Usually it's about economics and stuff like that. And it's not because it's something that worries me immensely. I'm just interested in is something wrong, or is it, maybe I've not noticed that I'm doing something weird or whatever. So we've been having a bit of a discussion going, and that's what CH Box was kind enough to get back to me on. Jamie says, I'd love to share what I know about this, which is Conquest, the game. Jamie is the fortunate soul of apparently having his own game store. It's one of my favorite rule sets, and the models are delightful. Yeah. Mikey R says, I like the idea of a Conquest, but I didn't get on with the minis. They were a bit soft in the details and anatomically weird. Okay, cool. I have some. I'm going to take some out later and have a look. Cassis says, not played the game, but have a box of Men-at-Arms. The models look really good. Ernst says, I haven't played Conquest, but once got a discounted box of Ogres, and they were fun to convert and paint. Kung Frolic says, your live stream will be a good background for me playing Rangers of Shadowdeep right now, not that far from you in Bagarmossen, which is also in Stockholm. Lovely to hear. Adrian says, I've watched some condensed Conquest battle reports and it looks ace. I like how heavier units enter the game later and with a chance element. Yes, and from what I understand, there's actually, there's two versions. There's a skirmish style, more smaller game, and then there's a war game with more miniatures. But you use the same miniatures for both games, which is great. But that's like having a Stormcast army, and then you can take for Age of Sigmar, and you can take some of those out and also play. I was going to say Kill Team, which you could if you wanted to, but I meant the other one, the fantasy version. Anyway, and from what I understand it, the war game is more of what one would call a rank and flank game. So you in like Warhammer games, 40k and Age of Sigmar, you have a unit, but you still move all the troops individually. And then there's other style of games called more sort of rank and flank, where you actually have all of them on your entire unit of however many miniatures there are on like a movement tray, and you move the whole unit, not every individual miniature, even though they're supposed to stick together. But yeah. I'm right about that, I hope, or I've just been lying to you. See you, CHBox. Thank you. Phil says, I understand without the use of wine, so that's not a good sign, Alex, because I'm, yeah. I mean, I guess some of us, Phil, are like permanently wined. It's just, I guess it's cheaper, than having to buy all that wine. Roderick says, we're trying to build a community in San Antonio. Is that a Conquest? If you're wondering why I'm looking down here all the time, is because that's where the boxes with the miniatures are. So maybe if I put it there, then I can. That's a bit too obvious, isn't it? Yeah. Is that a Conquest community? Is that what you mean, Roderick? Girl Painting says, would you be interested in some kind of collaboration with me? I don't know. It depends on the collaboration, I think. I haven't really done many. I think I've maybe done one collaboration. And I guess in a way, I've kind of been a little bit like, I would like to maybe do videos with other content creators, but I think I would actually like to be in the room with that person. In a way, I don't feel like this sort of, I do this and then you do that, and then we just reveal our videos at the same time, working on the same type of thing. I don't see the sort of collaborative nature all that much in such a thing. Then there's the option of like doing a little bit and then sending it to someone and then do a little bit and back and forth and stuff. But yeah, I think I'd more appreciate just actually meeting up with people in real life if I was to do collaborative videos, which obviously hasn't been a ready available commodity, the hanging out in real life thing, because of the pandemic. But hopefully things on that front will change. Jarl asks, how did you acquire the skill set to make such high quality video and audio? Is it something you do in your day? Yes. Life, work? Yes. I'm a photographer by trade. So you know how some people, content creators, they cheat because they've like won a golden demon and then they make painting videos. I cheat because I know how to, point cameras and edit. We all cheat somehow. Bat says, one-way conversations are difficult to do and stay sane. I've given up on sanity, Bat. It just makes things a little bit simpler. And says, just checked out Knob, that student place, Palace. Yeah, I mean, I'm just, yeah. He's great. It amazes me. Also because Knob is great at all the things that I just can't fathom it. 3D sculpting and then like going from vision to like actually just 3D sculpting something to then actually applying it to a larger thing. That no, it's great. Clyde says that browns are on the brown shelf in the brown paint room. No, they're actually on the brown. There's a brown. You can't see it. I have a paint rack back there in the darkness. It's a good thing to have your paints in a really, really dark room, so that when you choose, it's not really, you kind of end up with random, and then you just have to work with what you got. But there's a brown shelf. Only also I've been painting a bit from home, and I've been painting stuff over there, and I've been painting stuff over there. So there's just brown all over the place. BP Custom Creation says, Knob is really skilled crafter and can do more than a bit of everything. Definitely. Totally agree. Ben says, Scale 75 Walnut is nice. Still looking for a tone between this and black leather. I'm not sure if I've got Walnut. But yeah, it's, brown paints are fun. I think you also like, yeah. As I said before, I enjoy adding paint to browns, especially violet. I like cooling them down a lot. Marco Montana says scale color, orange leather, and red leather. Yeah, that was the one, wasn't it? Orange leather, and then yeah, there's a red leather. It's good browns. Joel says, thanks for searching through your paints. I agree. The subtleties in brown have been fun to play with. Violets never thought of that. Yeah. Blues like a blue can be a bit more tricky, and a green can be a bit more tricky, but like a violet and an orange, and when I say tricky, I mean, please go ahead and try. I'm just speaking for like personal taste, but violet and purple and orange, and that is nice to add to brown, I think. You can also just try and make your own brown, which is very simple. You can just mix red and green. And so you can try mixing different reds and different greens and see what your brown ends up with. And then you can add like black and white to them if you want it brighter or darker, or some yellow, or, you know. I think brown is a good paint to start, sort of, if one isn't used to mixing paints, if one buys a lot of pots of paint and is not totally used to sort of what happens if I mix paints, brown is kind of nice, because you know it'll always end up brown. You're not going to fail, really. Phil says 38 millimeter. Yeah. So I'm actually nah, not yet. Soon. We'll open something soon. I need to drag this out for 2 hours at least or something. So yeah. But I've got some. Yeah. We'll get there. Sorry. But Warcolor says nostalgia 1988 swamp brown. Yeah, I've got some snake bite leather lying around in an old like octagonal octagonal. No, it's not. They're round. Anyway, I've got an old Games Workshop snake bite leather somewhere. That's a very nostalgic brown. Age of non-related carp. I don't know why Conquest didn't go for 28 millimeter, other than just to be obtuse. It makes no sense, really, although from some of the figurines are spectacular. Yeah, I mean, there could be, this is just me making things up, there could be different reasons. One is just because whoever designed the game thought it would be nice, like just as a concept, like this will be fun. One thing is about the ones that I've looked at are plastic, same as sort of this kind of Games Workshop. This is a Games Workshop Beaky Marine sprue. Okay, I'll just wait. And somewhere in here, if I can get in to this, is it openable? It's been opened once and then it shall never open again because it's got annoying packaging. So this is some Conquest sprue with really big bits on, because it's for a very big dinosaur. We can look more at that later. But as you can see, it's the same concept, and it's the same kind of sort of hard plastic. So it's not resin or anything like that. It's yeah. And I guess if you go for a bigger scale, then your details maybe don't need to be as exact. Do you see what I mean? I don't know if this is the case. I'm just saying if you have a larger scale on bigger miniatures, then your details don't need to be as precise or like small as on something of a smaller scale. So that could come into play. I mean, everything here looks super nice and detailed anyway, but I'm just thinking that if I know with this type of what do you call it? This English terminology that I'm not very confident with, but injection. These are plastic injection molds. Whatever, you have a metallic mold and you sort of shoot plastic into it. And I define the detail of the mold, the more expensive it is. So in theory, you can make cheaper molds if the details aren't as small and crisp. So that could come into play as well. I don't know. I'm just making things up. Tim Taylor says the models seem very expensive for Conquest. Yeah, I think it depends. It's sort of like with Games Workshop as well. They have good deals on sort of starter packs and kits, and like if you need a packet of lots of small army men, maybe it's not excessively expensive. But if you want to get the really nice hero or the big hero model, then it gets more expensive. Same sort of kind of a thing as with Games Workshop. Here's a nice message from Martin. If you want to support, okay, I need to restart. If you want to support Alex and you're in this position to do so, one of the best ways would be to join his Patreon. And there's a lovely link to my Patreon. Benefits include an awesome Discord server. This is very true, Martin. Thank you for the message. Narbs asks me, did you get a batch of those new contrast paints like all the other YouTubers? What's your thought on them? No, I'm not like other YouTubers, according to Games Workshop. So they've never sent me anything. I did see I saw someone had made an example on Instagram that I wonder if it was, what's his name? Rods, Mods, something like that. Does great stuff. I'm not sure if it was him or if it was someone else, but they had like they had from the new shades. It wasn't the contrast paints, it was the shades, I think, because now they have new shades too, and the differences were pretty big. And from what I could see, I just liked all the differences because it looked like the shades were actually toning the surface, the entire surface, less, and just more sort of kind of ending up in the shaded areas, and was so which is kind of what you want from a shade. So all the new shades looked what I would have to call new and improved. But I've only seen that from images on Instagram. Nothing's been sent my way. Sasha's going to sign up to my Discord, which is my Patreon right now. Well, I love it. Welcome, Sasha. Blue Wolf says, hi from the UK. Your videos have been a great help in me getting back into painting, slowly starting again after a few years away. I'm glad to hear it. It's sort of what I hope the videos will do. I don't give as much for the individual sort of, you can use this paint, blah, blah, blah. If just it helps people out with inspiration and staying in the hobby or getting back into the hobby or just to keep people painting, I'm just really glad for that. Lobster Hat says the Discord is a fantastic place. I would have to agree. Sasha says no direct link to the Discord. No, one has to become a patron to join the Discord. It's the only thing you get as a patron, which is to join the lovely Discord. It's like our secret special little club. Sect sounds more fun. Redline says, good morning. Have you tried one-page rules? I have not tried any of the one-page rules. But one page, for those that you don't know, one-page rules is makers of rule sets that fit on 2 pages. So in theory, it's 2-page rules, but it's on 1 sheet of paper, right? No. And so they do sort of rather simplified rules, and then there's no other things. There's no fluff. It's not like you have to buy an entire book and read 68 pages about stories that might not interest you, and then just get a little section on rules in the back. It's just the rules, and they have, I guess, what you could call rules for any of the games that, you know, they have a rule set that is sort of a little bit like Warhammer 40k. They have a rule set that is a little sort of like Kill Team. They have, you know, it's, yeah. They also do miniatures, and I have painted some of their, like they do STL files where you can sort of buy and then 3D print miniatures, and that I have checked out and downloaded and printed and painted some, but I've never tried any of their rules. I play way too little. You know, I spend most of my time, my hobby time, making videos, and not enough time playing games, honestly. Because of dragons, we did a bunch of coverage on Conquest over on tabletop. Game is solid fun, and they've really stepped up the quality of the miniatures since they began. Cool. Yeah, I've seen that there's a few battle reports and things like that around that I'd like to check out. Honestly, for me, I mean, so let's see if we can have a look. Now, if I'm going to press some buttons here, and then we can see if there's this big explosion, and then just black, and you just hear beep. In that case, I pressed the wrong buttons, but I'm desperately going to try and press the right buttons. Now, you should be seeing my screen right now. And maybe even if I do this, you can actually see a little picture of me in the picture. Yeah, you can. Okay. This is the Conquest website. And what sort of got me lured in is, it's in theory, it's sort of a very traditional sort of wargaming. You have the humans, and then you have the sort of elves and the dwarves and the orcs, the undead folks, and the Vikings and stuff. But what sort of got me very intrigued is the style of things, because I'm very much into miniatures. Then that's usually what intrigues me. So, for instance, the undead faction here is sort of kind of Roman inspired. Let's see, where did they go? They disappeared. Darn them. I tried to show you a picture. That's why I pressed the picture. Let's go back. But they're sort of Roman. Let's see, there's legionnaires and Praetorian Guard, and then there's which is probably the coolest thing you can do to undead, is to turn them into sort of Roman undead kind of inspiration. At least in my book, we're all different. If we have a look here, for example, on the orcs, then sort of like in Age of Sigmar, there's really only 2 cool factions. If one's going to be honest about things, there's orcs, and then there's the lizard men, the skinks. And in this case, you can actually get to do both at the same time. So you have orcs riding down as dinosaurs, which is probably, as well, in my book, as cool as it gets. Or you've got orcs riding like smaller dinosaurs or big dinosaurs. This is all very cool. And then there's, where's the factions again? You've got the very sort of nightly, oh dear, there's so many things, can I just see pictures? No, I can't. Household nights. Okay. So the regular sort of, no pictures. Art gallery, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna leave this now. Please do check out the, I'm not gonna show you anymore because that was kind of a bit of a confusing website. But I just they're the sort of regular humans. They're very sort of Bretonian knights kind of a thing. I think all the sculpts look right. It's just a style of miniatures that I appreciate. That's why I got lured in, and because I know nothing about the game, that's why I wanted to just have this little chat with you guys about it, because you can say, which a surprising amount of people that have said anything have said that it's the rules seem pretty rad. And so this was regarding the fact that you can actually play an orc riding a dinosaur. This is, my son he'd probably just like see it and look at it and like walk out of the room, not being able to comprehend the awesomeness. He would just be maxed out. This is obviously one of the big, large hero things. And this is when you can sort of tell that this is big, and the scale is big. And the dinosaur has feathers too, which is nice. Like this is a tail. Here, this is a regular 28mm miniature, right there. So this is pretty big stuff. And I don't know what you can see now with my second camera. It's kind of difficult to look at sprue and say like, oh, that's a well-detailed sprue, especially when the camera is just showing a jumble of plastic. I'm sorry. But here's some dinosaur face. Can you see that? Yes, sort of. I haven't really got a very good angle on this camera. But there's nothing when this gets assembled and painted. I mean, it looks great. I can imagine sort of looking at this and saying, no, it's not exactly as detailed as Games Workshop, but looking at like this rider here, this orc, there's skulls and small tiny ropes, and it's a detail level that I cannot paint any more detail, if you see what I mean. So I think, this looks, I'm just very interested and intrigued. And now I want to open this box of Cataphractoi, which is some of the undead folks on sort of dead horses. Because I just kind of want to see what the sprue looks like as well. Well, maybe I should just look at the chat first to see how much I've missed out on. Sasha asks, do you have any recommendations on how to most easily learn to edit, and what software do you suggest? I think I don't know if I can answer that in a very good way. Like I've worked with this for 15 to 20 years. And so I don't, I've never gone to a course or whatever. I don't know what's easy. I don't know what's difficult. I've just been doing it for too long. I work in Adobe Premiere Pro, which is like industry standard, at least for most. I'm guessing my only tip would be just start doing it, start filming stuff, and start editing it in whatever software you can get your hands on. That's about my tip. It's like painting miniatures. You're not going to get anywhere without painting miniatures, really. So you just have to start painting and probably making a mess of things. And then a year or so later, then you're like, look, I painted a miniature. It looks all right. Filming and editing is roughly the same. Northern Cross says, Conquest is great, interactive with emphasis and facings. It's being compared to the Song of Ice and Fire a lot. Yeah, but this is a Parabellum Games soul baby, and I can't vouch for the latest development. I think I got you there. Yeah. I was just amazed as well over there's the different factions. There's tons of different factions. Everything looks kind of cool. I really like the look of the Norse, because not so much because I'm Swedish and there's Vikings. That's a little bit silly, probably. But that they were you have humans and like trolls in the same faction. Great fun. But there's like tons of factions and tons of miniatures, and everything seems really well made. And I've never heard about it. I think that's kind of what amazes me as well. Okay, I've opened the box. And there's miniatures in here. Look, there's horses. Yeah, so looking at something like this, and I would have to say that, no, it's not. If one would have to compare to something like Games Workshop, I'd say, no, it's not as detailed in a way. But I would also say that it looks absolutely great. There's nothing here that wouldn't look fantastic with paint on. Yeah. Wonderful. I want to paint these. They inspire me. Jacob Kramer says, my friend played a Conquest demo. What he came away with what was that the rules were too balanced and led to a drearfully boring game. The card mechanic was cool, but nothing out of the blue happened. Okay. Fair enough. Chris is joining in now and wanted to say hi. Hi. And how are you? I'm fine. I'm good. I'm getting to open lots of boxes, which is great fun. I've actually got another one. This was like horsemen. These weren't really Roman, but they were still sort of, I don't know, what could these be? Celtic, Greek Celts. I think I had another one. There was just a small one. Here we are. Final one. This is real sort of Roman fella. It's a hero. Put that away. And see if we can get this open, or if you can see anything down there. Now, how do we get in? This way? That way. Look at that. Ta-da! A little miniature. It's got a face. It's got legs. It's got arms. And yeah. Miniatures. terrible fun thing, managers. And well, look, here he is. He's got a card. Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't figured that out yet. You use cards in game somehow. And yeah, I read the rules a little bit. And it's different from the war game at least. I haven't really looked at the skirmish game. The war game at least. Oh, sorry, was that annoying? And I mean, the rules for the war game is very different from Age of Sigmar, which is also why it intrigues me. But I mean, my big issue is I'm working on my Age of Sigmar Stormcast 2.0 army. I actually only just recently, yesterday, started painting my Stargrave crew. And I'd kind of like to play Silver Bayonet, and now there's this one. And I don't know anyone who plays this. So if I got it, I have to get 2 armies and paint 2 of them, and like force someone to play against me. But that doesn't mean I can just not start, paint one every now and again. I don't know. Adrian says, I would have expected you to have an umber shelf separate from the sienna shelf with perhaps a sepia shelf too. Yeah, it feels like I'm kind of getting there. There's too much. There's too much paint, but I do like paint, if only to look at. Dr. Dave says, brown paints are fun. Is that a new t-shirt logo? Yeah, you guys need to go buy t-shirts, all of you, right now. They're not selling. They're like, so they, maybe because they're a bit dreary looking. The hoodie sells. People like the hoodie. The brave people out there that can, but I don't know. I think people mainly just wear them at home and never go out in them because they might get attacked by strange animals. But one day I'm going to have a look at maybe doing more merch than just what has my logo on, but it's not. Yeah. I mean, how many armies do I have to paint? Then there's this. Oh, I forgot about that one too. Yeah, there's about 365,000 Beaky Marines to get painted as well. But at least you got fun goggles with the Beaky Marines. Okay, sorry, flipping out here. Greetings, Slothman. Welcome. Lenric's Realm says, so as a professional photographer, what made you start 52 Miniatures? I'm interested in your story because I have a similar background and started my own YouTube journey a couple of days ago. Okay, that's cool, Lenric. I'll make sure I check out your videos. My profession, actually, from the start, when I started making YouTube videos, I had nothing to do really with my profession. I actually kind of tried to do the opposite of, like, I'm not going to spend the ounce of I was afraid of making everything into sort of a bit of a technical spectacle, and then look what happened. Everything turned into a technical spectacle. But yeah, so I tried for a very long time to not care too much about what things looked like, and just maybe learn a little bit about YouTube and just what it feels like to upload a video and see what happens, and that kind of stuff. And then at some point I was like, might as well do it proper. But I still fool around a lot with how I film, and it's but it is a bit of a technical spectacle. Martin Cobb says, talking of t-shirts, you can get your very own 52 Miniatures t-shirt, hoodies, stickers, and mugs from Teespring. And there's a link. So just go in there and close your eyes, click, and then confirm Visa payment lots of times, and I'll be, happy. I'm happy anyway. I'm just really glad that you're all here. Thank you. Jamie says the bigger scale is a nice change of pace. Their resin minis are a dream to work with. The resin is beautiful. See, initially I thought most of their stuff was in resin. And all the stuff I've gotten was in hard plastic. I would love to see some of their resin stuff. We're back to Conquest now. The real MacGuffin says, just turned in as I saw the topic. Recently bought Conquest and do not regret it so far. The resin is really nice, but I will not buy resin units, I think, because they're just too expensive. Yeah, see, that would be a thing with the sort of plastic kits hopefully are cheaper. These were all plastic. I imagine that, this is not a cheap kit, even though it's plastic. But I'd still like to see some of the resin. Just I enjoy looking at resin. That's like how deep down you fall into the hole of the miniature painting hobby. Is like my last statement was like, I just like looking at paint, and now I said I like to look at resin. I do exciting things with my life as well. I just want to say. Robin says, I'm playing since last January and the game is awesome. The models are great. The company gives great support to the community. Okay, cool. Chuhan says, Juan Hidalgo. Why did I say something that was related to Juan Hidalgo? I don't know. Please refresh my mind. Phil says 40-ish millimeter, this is 38, the Conquest. I'm pointing down here again because it's down here, but I can. Okay. 40-ish millimeter is great scale to paint nicely. After all, a lot of 40K stuff is actually around that size. Yeah. There's a lot of large things about the skirmish game seems more attractive based on price and painting. Definitely. It's always the thing, I guess. If you don't want to paint all that many miniatures and you don't want to buy that many of them, then starting with the skirmish game is a great place to start initially. I think it's fun that they've developed both sides, so you can start painting a few miniatures and play a little bit of skirmish, and then use the same miniatures for your war game. It doesn't seem like there's an excessive amount of different units. I mean, I have that issue with playing Stormcast in Age of Sigmar, is that there's just so many different types of units that I can always paint more Stormcast. It just never ends. Whereas here it's not exactly the same. There's still plenty of miniatures, but it's not as huge, which is kind of nice. It's nice to not get too many choices. Is what I'm after, I guess. BP Customs is going to go get some sleep. Sleep well. Adrian says, if you join the Patreon, you also get a warm, fluffy cult robe. I mean, glow of happiness. Yes. No one can see it but you, but it is there. Seb says, it's funny that we expect better value or prices from smaller companies, Conquest, than from Games Workshop, where, on the other hand, Games Workshop is the biggest competitor with the highest production volume, and smaller creators have a smaller margin. This is very true. In theory, Games Workshop should maybe have the cheapest miniatures about. I've got to be honest that I've not been looking at prices all that much on anything lately, just because of the technological spectacle. If I see something and I want to paint it, I just buy it because it's going to end up in a video and stuff like that. That's changed a lot from when I started. I remember I was very happy to have bought my first Age of Sigmar army as a sort of on the Swedish eBay kind of a thing, a used army. Well, it wasn't used; it was new sprue in boxes, most of it, but it was second hand type thing, because I just felt that it was very expensive to not do that. I don't really think in the same way now, just because, it's all this is bigger than it was then. But yeah, I don't know why I went into that little ramble. Keo Kamarelli. Hello, how are you today? Have you by any chance checked Comment Lord minis? No, I haven't. I'll have to make a note. Comet Lord minis. And I can check it out after the stream. Thank you. Jake says, hi, Alex. Thanks for your wonderful content. How do you combat painting fatigue or burnout? How do you rekindle the fire and inspiration for a project that has fallen by the wayside? That's a good question, Jake. I think it's a pretty long story. No, I think what I've been sort of figuring out more and more the longer I do this is that if I start a project based on being honestly intrigued or happy, or if I see a miniature and I really like it, so I got this one, I really like it, I saw it, I got it, I want to paint it. That's like the start. If this would have been a miniature I don't like or the look of, then trying to paint it is going to be more of a struggle. So that's like the first thing, and like that could go for an entire army, like actually whatever it is you're working on, or terrain, like if it actually visually appeals to me, is going to be a very important factor in me painting it. The next step is like how I'm going to paint it. Sometimes I can get a bit bored with painting. I'm like, okay, so I would just wet blend in 10 miniatures. I don't want to wet blend anymore. And so then maybe I just figure out, well, maybe I could just try painting these with contrast paints. I've never tried that before. And so then I paint 10 miniatures with contrast paint. And then I go like, well, that, done that. I'm bored. Well, maybe I go back and wet blend too. And then maybe I paint some with my last released video, which was almost 2 weeks ago, a week ago, is a pretty good example of how my brain works a little bit. I painted 4 or 5 miniatures from the same company, the same release, and they're all painted differently, which is in the video sort of described as me trying to show you different things, but it's mainly based on the fact that my mind would probably not allow me to paint 5 miniatures that detailed if I didn't change the technique a little bit, just to keep myself interested. Same can also go with what actual paint is going on the miniature, like the color scheme. I don't really enjoy painting an army that looks identical. Like, okay, so I have all these beaky Space Marines, but I don't even know how many there are. There's tons of them in here. If someone told me, like, you have to paint them all blue, they're all going to be the Ultra Marines thingy, here's your bottle of blue paint, good luck. That army would never get done. I enjoy just changing things up, and the combination of all those things is sort of what keeps me inspired and keeps me going. And then there's tons of stuff that gets sort of sidetracked. Like I have tons of MDF terrain here that I had this sprint probably almost a year ago of assembling it, and adding different textures and doing all of that stuff, and then it's been sitting there for almost a year. And I'm still going to finish it, but I'm not really stressing out about it because I have other things I'm doing first, and eventually I'll get there. Why I wanted to say that is as well that sometimes it's nice to have different projects going, and because you do get tired of the one, and then maybe so I don't want to paint anymore of the Space Marines. I'm going to do a little bit of my terrain, and you do a bit of the terrain, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, wait a minute, painting a Space Marine, that would be fun. And so then you go back. The combination of all of that is how I keep myself going, is trying to change things up as much as I can. And in the end, it depends on what you're working on. Like my army will have lots of different styles of painting and miniatures that probably don't even look like they're in the same army, which is fine. At least in the end, I'll have a painted army, and I'll have had a fun journey painting it. So yeah, I'm just trying to have fun while I'm doing it. And if I'm not enjoying something at the moment, then I just try and change something and see if I enjoy things better. Okay, now I need to drink water. Kung Frolic just won some post ranges of Shadow Deep things, which is great. Marcus says, don't forget to like the live stream. I agree. Please like the live. Please like the live stream. If you haven't pressed the likey, the thumbs up thing, please do, because that just means other people actually get to see that the live stream exists. YouTube is funny. It's not YouTube, like any content creator. You always hear this please press like and subscribe, and it's not to boost the creator's ego. It's not like, yeah, I got so many likes. It just, whatever you do to interact with the video will spread the video, which means people actually get to see it. There's so much content made for YouTube that just does not get viewed, even though it's good content and should get viewed, just because that's sort of how it works. If a lot of people interact, then it gets spread more, and if people don't really interact, then it doesn't really spread. So I always try and whatever I watch on YouTube, I just try and press like. It doesn't actually have anything to do with me if I actually like it or not. I'll just like it. I just like it. Chuhan says, I like dinosaurs. I like dinosaurs too. And also my son likes dinosaurs. He's a 6-year-old. And so I'm thinking, yeah, painting orcs riding dinosaurs. He would love that. That guy in the sky. Hello, dear Alex. Great to see you doing the live streams. A bit of personal issue currently. There's a hedgehog living under my shed. He arrives out at approximately 10 p.m. every evening. Congratulations. I am sincerely envious. I love hedgehogs. We used to have hedgehogs out in the country house where my parents have their country house when I was a kid. And then at some point, one year, something happened. I don't know if there was like a disease or a plague or like Nurgle demons or something. I have no idea. But there was like all the hedgehogs just sort of vanished, and they have never reappeared. There was actually this really lovely little story. I can tell you a lovely little story. I had a cat as well. And we also, I think for some reason in the backyard, there was a hole in the lawn about yay size. I think there used to be something in the hole, like a maypole or something for midsummer, whatever. And one day the cat came, and he was like, he just tapped by my feet, and he was like, meow, meow. Cats, they make that noise when they try and talk. But they haven't, I don't know, there's something with the vocal cords in the tongue. They can't actually say like, hey, I want you to listen to me now. They say meow. And then, and so, I walk towards the cat, and the cat moves like 2-3 meters back, sits down, and then keeps on going like meow meow, and it just continued until we came to the backside of the house, the lawn where this hole was, and inside the hole was a hedgehog that couldn't get up. And for some reason, my cat must have liked this hedgehog and wanted to alert me of the fact that the hedgehog is stuck in the hole and can't get up. Stupid human. I said it, 10 minutes ago, meow meow, but you didn't listen anyway. And so we could fish out the hedgehog, and the cat was very happy. It's a nice little story, wasn't it? Story continues. However, we're back to hedgehogs here. When I try to take a video of him, he runs off like a bullet. Any thoughts on how I can catch him on a video to show friends and fam? Thank you. It's a good question. Are you just trying to film with your phone? Because the sort of professional trick here would be if you had a camera that you could remote control. Say like, but this camera over here, I can actually, if I wanted to, control from my phone. I could say start recording now. Then you could set it up where you think, if there's a point where that hedgehog always comes out from under your shed, you could just set the camera there on a tripod, and leave, and just sit and wait until the hedgehog comes forth, and you can press your phone and it starts to film, and for some reason Bob's your uncle. But apart from that, I don't know, maybe try sticking food to if you're filming with your phone. Can you stick food to it, and the hedgehog will be like, ooh, food, and then the food can film the, I don't know, I'm not much of a hedgehog film fella. Phil says that T-Rex does look awesome. It does look awesome, Phil. It's also because of the wing thing. I like the wings. Yeah. And there's different, as we can see here depicted, there's like the different faces going in there. I think there's also two different riders, one standing up, one sitting down. They're sort of orcs. They don't really look, they sort of look like orcs. They could also be just painted in any color and be like ogres or whatever. They don't have a very, not this one at least, does not have super sort of typical cartoonish orc skin. It's more of just, I'm sure they're not, they're not called orcs either. They're Hadrun or something. We have to ask the Welsh fella. Looks kind of Welsh. But yeah. Bio says, I didn't play it yet. I guess this is Conquest. But I do have a Spire army that is based on the Highborn lineage mechanic. I named the army the Noctilum bloodline since the lore made them into a vampiric themed Spire army. Okay, that was a bit. I still haven't read that much, so it was a bit over the top of my head. But it does sound exciting. Jamie says the Conquest rule set shares a designer with the Warhammer Fantasy Battles, so it has a lot of similar qualities, like with old, as in Warhammer Fantasy, which would be Old Hammer. Is that what you mean? Not Age of Sigmar. Chris says, just wish Conquest was closer to 28mm. So here's a question. Because it's a larger 38mm scale and it's a war game, it's something I haven't actually checked or read up on. How big a table is this supposed to be played upon? Is it like roughly a third larger than like an Age of Sigmar table, or is it just more condensed? Adrian says, now that you can see them up close, which would be the Conquest miniatures, with the less detail, would you perhaps describe them as miniatures to paint rather than color? They're not undetailed, Adrian. There's tons of detail. It's just the sharpness of the detail, I guess you could call it. Like if one looks at, I had some. Here's some Games Workshop sprue I just happened to find lying on the floor. Like the sharpness of the details and the very small details is not excessively a big difference, but there is a little difference. This is the Games Workshop stuff is just, it just looks sharper. That being said, there's nothing unsharp with the Conquest stuff. It looks great. Honestly, it's just like if there's a hard edge, it's just a little bit rounder. It's like the details are a little bit softer. I guess that's how you could call it. But it's still not like these are details I can't, paint. It's not like they're undetailed. I'd say they look fabulous. It's just that Games Workshop is sort of the best around kind of a thing when it comes to that, because of the money they spend on the molds and the whole process, which is most probably not possible for a smaller company. Chrisia says, Romano Greco Celt skeletons. Love that. Exactly. Yeah. I think my big thing here is I would have a little bit of a difficulty choosing faction, honestly. Like, as I said, orcs on dinosaurs, who doesn't want to go there? As Chrysias says, Romano Greco Celt skeletons, who doesn't want to go there? And then there's like the human regular sort of nightly human faction is just really nice as well, because it's just really nice, more medieval type. Like, I like that as well. Maybe I have to have a look at like the skirmish and the Norse folk. Love it. I want Vikings running around in the same team as trolls, because that's a marvelous idea. And the dwarves, and then there's dwarves, and they're fabulous. I like kind of like all of it. Maybe I should have a look at the skirmish style, see how big how many miniatures one needs to play the skirmish version. Maybe that would be an option to get to paint more. As you can tell, I'm enjoying the look of the miniatures, which means I kind of want to paint them. I also am intrigued by the game, but for me personally, it's always sort of miniatures kind of come first. Phil says, if anyone hasn't watched the dragon painting video, go look. It's awesome. I sound a little bit full of myself, but I'd like to agree with Phil that I painted some dragon wings recently. There's a video of me painting dragon wings, and it's one of the things I've done that I just think it looks really nice, and not very many people watched that video compared to some other videos. So if you haven't watched it, please do, because it's just really fun wings. Phil also says, cats are so inarticulate. How do they get to talking with their tails and waving their buttholes at you? Yeah, they do the like, feels like a Monty Python thing. You waving your butthole in my general direction. Okay. Yeah. Mikey says spam alert, and then Martin is all over it. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate not having to fuss with all the bots trying to do advertising for naked things. I wonder if it's naked undead Roman soldiers, because then it'd be fine. But yeah, reanimated nakedness. Dirk says, haven't painted in a long time. First time catching this live chat and have a mini done. Bam. Thanks, Alex. I'm very glad to hear it. And I'm glad you got to paint a miniature. That's sort of what makes the world go round. Jamie says, yes, Oldhammer, one of the same designers. Okay, so one of the designers that worked on Warhammer in the good old days when it was an Age of Sigmar has also worked on the Conquest, apparently, according to Jamie here. The real MacGuffin says, I've not read up on that part, but judging from the videos on YouTube, the table size seems to be standard. 180 times 120, that would be centimeters. It's like 40 times 60.5 inches or something. 60 times 45 inches, 60, I can't remember. They changed things a little bit recently for Age of Sigmar, but it's something like that. Hello, North D, and welcome. Christias also says he's not sure about the table size for Conquest. Hello, Thomas from Poland. Jamie says table size is 60 times 40 inches, but can be scaled down for smaller scale battles. So it would be the same kind of size table as for Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k. Goodbye, Mikey, and I'll catch you soon again. It's good to see you. Yeah, so it's yeah. I don't know when. It's just intriguing. I like the size because, as we said before, with the size, it's strange in a way to have something of a larger scale. Because it's not as easy to use in another game, but that also depends on what are you using. If there's a troll, it's not like, oh, your troll is too big. So I mean, some stuff could easily be used in other games, but on the whole, if you have like a undead Roman army, maybe it won't get tons of use for any other game. That being said, I just think everything looks very nice, and I really like just the miniatures and the factions. So I guess it's just I'll have to at some point paint some, and then just see where things lead from there. I think I saw Duncan doing some of these. Duncan Rhodes. I might be wrong, but I thought has he been playing Conquest? I think so. I mean, as I said, I don't really need another game right now, but also why limit oneself if it's just about maybe buying just a few miniatures and just starting, and then as I said, talked about previously, with sort of staying inspired and the inspiration thing to jump back and forth between projects can sometimes be a nice thing. Then things can get out of hand when you have 10 different projects, because then progress will become very slow. Yeah, they just inspire me, especially this as well. I mean, there's a lot of dinosaur here, honestly. And so this would just be kind of fun to put together to just fathom the massiveness. Like that's one big turkey leg right there. And just the fun of playing a game with something like this on a table. Yeah. Oh, look, beaky marines. Where did they come from? They're all over the place, I tell you. That's another thing I'd like to talking about beaky marines. There's that rather large thing in the... Sorry, I'm jumping between thoughts here. Here's the massive Horus Heresy box, which, you know, this is just endless sprue here. As I said previously, I've actually painted one beaky marine, and it's going to be turned into a video. I hope you are going to enjoy it. It's going to be a little bit different. I'm being rather silly. But isn't there supposed to be a tank? Yes, there's a tank in here. Apart from getting my hands on some of the beaky marines, that was actually one of the reasons I wanted this box as well, just because there's a tank. Because that's something I've never painted, really. And I think that'd be a fun thing to do. Because, you know, all of a sudden you're sort of into... Oops, sorry, I hit the microphone. You're into scale modeling territory, and you can do all the weathering and all that kind of stuff. I very much see this box as a... This is just a lot of empty canvas sprue here for me. And is there the dreadnought thingy as well? No, can't be. I need to look at the underside of the box. Excuse me. No, that's a separate... No, oh yeah, there is. Because that one I like as well. There's a big robot-looking thingy. I'd like to do something with those two, apart from, you know, a bunch of beaky marines. But I actually had a lot of fun painting that beaky marine. There was something about the simplicity of the sculpt and a lot of just flat surfaces that was very open to interpretation of what one wanted to do on them. You know, and it was also easy if one wants to do something relatively efficient. So I had a lot of fun with my little beaky. He's painted, and he's in a little diorama, and it's going to be a video, which is good. Samuel Young says, "What are we talking about?" I have no idea. This is an insight into my brain, which is confusing. Hello, Samuel Young from Sweden. Welcome. Chrisia says, do you have a homebrew setting or world that you would love to bring to miniature form, or any form for that matter? Books, TV, film. I just read homebrew, and I was thinking about brewing beer, and I was trying to my mind is trying to compute the like a miniature brewery. The only thing that at one point I did for Stargrave, I did my Space Orc Pirates to have as random encounters in Stargrave. I can also, there's 10 Space Orc Pirates, so I can, if I want to, I can play the Space Orc Pirates as a Stargrave crew as well if I want to swap things out. But at that point in time, I made up a little story of these orc space pirates. If you haven't seen the video, I had a lot of fun making that video. I think it's when there's two videos. There's one on the kit bash. It's not so much, well, it's sort of a kit bash, but it's lots of different bits from a company called Cromlech in Poland that makes tons of fun orc bits. They make tons of bits for anything, but they have a lot of fun orc bits. And then there's another video on painting it. I can't remember. I think I've sort of space out when it comes to the stories. But I tend to like to invent stories for things when I paint them, because then the painting just makes more sense. If making up a bit of a story of who these miniatures are, or where they come from, or what they're doing, and then figuring out the paint job is, or the color scheme is not all that difficult. And while I was sort of visiting that world in my head, it sort of intrigued me a little bit of these space orc pirates, and sort of not only because they're ruled by a queen. Obviously, there's an orc queen. It's like a bit of, sort of like a beehive or an ant hill or something like that. There's just the one female, and it's the queen, and she gives birth to all the little eggs that. Do you give birth to an egg? I don't know. And out pops little orky babies. And yeah, so I was, I had my own little thing going there, and it was a lot of fun. And so I was imagining their sort of spaceships, because you had a queen, you get a space orc queen on every ship. It's the captain of the ship, and and rules over all the just annoying orc fighters that would yeah. And so obviously there's different ships. It's pirates, obviously. So there's different pirate captains, i.e., different orc queens. And so what do these ships look like, and what happens on the ships, and also like when they go to port and they hang out at the spaceport, drinking whatever orc pirates drink, and brag about how they got their scars and all of that kind of stuff. And what does that spaceport look like? That would be a fun world to just expand. I had at the time, I actually had I was in contact with a gentleman called Max, who designs a game called Turnip 28. And Max is a wonderful fellow. And at one point, I was like, I'm going to design a orc queen miniature, it was an idea I had. Like, what would this orc queen look like? And I was in contact with Max to do the concept art for that, and he was actually interested to do it. We just couldn't find the time when he had the time, and then I got too busy, and it just hasn't happened yet. We'll see if it ever does happen. I'd like to. It would be a fun thing to do, but we'll see. Martin Cobb says a big tank and a dreadnought. Yeah, I like the two. I'd like to do the tank and the dreadnought. Mainly the tank, I think, just because of the chance to do a sort of scale modeling video. Only it's a 30K type vehicle. Would be fun. See you, Lennox. Realm, enjoy the pizza. The real MacGuffin says, as for Conquest having a larger scale, that's why I picked Spires first, so I could use them in Saga, Age of Fantasy, with other 32mm minis, because they are quite literally so alien, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's the thing as well, like depending on what stuff looks like, if it's not super specific, as long as you have base size that matches whatever you're supposed to be running it as, then it's when you have a dwarf that all of a sudden is the size of not apparently they're supposed to be short, so I've heard. Then things might look strange, but when things are weird or freaked out, or like, oh, your dinosaur's too big, it's not really gonna. That's the point of dinosaurs, That guy in the sky. One last query. If you could paint any mini from any game, from any point in time, what would it be and why? Regards from Ireland. That's a very tricky question. I actually have it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. It's in bits somewhere. I have since my childhood, when I collected Warhammer miniatures, the old Hammer Warhammer miniatures. When I was a kid, I could really not always make up my mind. So there were at some point I was going to do dwarves, and at some point there was chaos stuff going, and the point was to get an army together. But realistically, what you needed you needed so many miniatures at that time to get an army going, and it was just not realistic for someone of my age with frankly a kid's income isn't really yeah, we're not allowed to work put our kids to work in this country, unfortunately, so they can't make money, and so they can't play Warhammer. But I can still buy miniatures every now and again. I actually, every time we went to the UK, I would try and buy tons of miniatures because they were a lot cheaper in the UK than they were in Sweden. So imagine that if you were young and you were living in England and you thought your miniatures were expensive, you should have seen the prices in Sweden. Anyway, I saved money and I saved money and I saved money and I saved money, and eventually I bought, what's his name? Von something. It's a Tzeentch general kind of rider on a two-headed dragon. So it was one of the most massive Warhammer miniatures you could buy. A Grim Van Horseman, I think his name was. And I still have it. It's sort of, I've tried to strip it was sort of half painted, but not really half painted. Mainly, I think, Humbrol paints that have just sort of etched their way into all that pewter. It's really difficult to strip the paint. And while stripping the paint, the sort of some of the bits actually started to break, like not actually break apart where they were supposed to break apart. And so it needs to be stripped properly and then sort of renovated, and then I'd like to paint it again. I like actually paint it, because I never really finished painting it at all. I just hardly started. So that would be the mini, I think, just for personal nostalgia's sake. Chrisia says the Orc Pirates setting does sound very cool. Right blend of whimsy and grimdark. Yeah, definitely. It's like the sort of Tatooine bar vibes, but also kind of meets Alien, I think, is the images I have in my head. So we'll see. We'll see if that idea ever bears any more fruit than being an idea. Horsefan says, a parent buying miniatures for their kids has got to make for good memories. Yeah, I'm definitely. I can imagine that. I've only been 3D printing for my son, and honestly, it's probably not exactly the same thing, because first you just sit and browse, and you're like, no, not that one, says the kid, not that one. Oh, that one's cool, but just the availability. Like, I remember just Warhammer being so unavailable in a way, and that's what was so cool. It was just, you had to save up, and then it was a big deal, kind of a thing. So yeah. Matthew says, I see a lot of impulse buying when stuff is immediately released. Saving up is the better option. Yeah, I kind of felt a little bit impulse with this Age of Darkness box. I mean, because it's not like I don't have enough miniatures to paint. I really do want to get my Stormcast army finished, and I have all the miniatures for that. A lot of it has to be kit bashed, but I have most of the stuff. But it's just, I think my mind very much works in the way of seeing things, and they just inspire me. And when they released just images of the Beaky Marines, sorry, Phil, I know you don't like them, and I just, I just kind of wanted to paint them, and I'm going to use them as palette cleansers. On the other hand, getting a box that is that large as just a palette cleanser, especially when one has a 3D printer, might seem a bit weird. But yeah. Adrian says, I would have been so into Warhammer as a kid if only child labor wasn't illegal. Exactly. It's health and safety gone mad, I tell you. A 15,000 point army and my own chimney sweeping brush. Yeah. And then, I mean, health and safety as well. I remember sitting there with my like thinner, usually they look like this, but this is where I keep my sprue glue now, and Humbrol paints, 3 or 4 of them open at the same time, just all those fumes melting my young precious brain. And yeah. Jamie says, I've been obsessed with Black Ark Corsairs lately. I started a Cities of Sigmar army just to use them, despite how relatively weak they are. Sometimes a good model just inspires you. Very much so, Jamie. And I think for me as well, that's very much why I appreciate kit bashing, because sometimes, for me at least, in Age of Sigmar, I need the folk, my very good friend, previously neighbor, not neighbor anymore. Now we can just say that we're friends. They're pretty good at. They're the people I play Age of Sigmar with, and they're pretty good at it, I guess. I mean, I'm still very much a novice, and I'm not going to say it's excessively competitive, but it's like they know how to play war games, and so I still need a playable list, not only just this looks like fun. So that for me is very much where the kit bashing comes into the whole thing. So then I can play a miniature that I think will perform adequately in game, and just kit bash it until it looks like something I actually want to paint. Which is I've done several videos on as well. Chrisia says, if you ever want some artwork for the Orc Pirates, I'm an unemployed artist and I need something to keep me busy. That's good to know. That's good to know. I still haven't, it was it was just one of those, if sometimes you get ideas and I just have to do this, and then it was like, yeah, a lot of other things just sort of happened instead. But we'll see. I like the concept. At first, there was the trick of trying to come up with an image of a female orc. It's highly conservative. I was going to say a highly conservative topic, but that was not right. It's the highly conservative people think it's a very unconventional topic or whatever. Apparently, orcs, they're just not supposed to be female, kind of a thing. Either they're supposed to be mushrooms or whatever. But on the other hand, there are female orcs around sometimes, especially in some computer games and stuff like that. And apparently, if you just stick, this is going to sound rude, sticks and tits on your orc, and give them like eyelashes, then you have a female orc, which and so that was sort of where it started, was just the big challenge of like how to portray a female pirate queen as well, orc, without it becoming like some kind of stereotypical thing, and without it being just not an orc. And then you get into like, okay, so what does an orc look like? Is it the sort of just the very neon green sort of uh, World of Warhammer kind of an orc, or is it like the brown one from the Lord of the Rings, which is just kind of more looks like just like you do the green one first and then you melt it a little bit and then you get the brown Lord of the Rings orc. You know, just designing an orc is a tricky thing, and then making it female is even trickier. So at the point in time, it just became a bit too big of a thing. Please don't steal my idea. Phil says, I'm trying to get through Cursed City with all sorts of palette cleansers. Yeah, you even melted one, didn't you, or something? But then you got a new one back. Phil had an accident with one with some of his Cursed City miniatures, but managed to find some new ones. Chris says, I've been working away at Cities of Sigma Army as well, just for the ways you can make it your own. I appreciate that a lot with Cities of Sigma and the different options. But also, I believe I think I got the book, the old book. I'm not sure, or maybe I just read it. Just the vibe of it as well, that you can be a bit of a pirate city, or a bit, everything isn't all that sort of you're really evil or you're really good or valiant, and it's just there's so many extremes with a lot of the other factions, and Cities of Sigmar just felt more gray zoney and just a bit more human, I guess. And so I like that the possibility for backstories. I like that. It was not very sort of dug into a corner. Phil also says he mostly palate cleanses with whiskey. It works too as well. Phil, agree. Seeing as we've run out of wine. Jamie says, a slurry made of isopropyl, that is isopropanol alcohol, and milliput has replaced my sprue goo. More searching for gap filling saves having to clean up spillover and can be sanded. I agree. And I know Phil here in the chat as well is a big fan of that. I just can't, I do both. Honestly, sometimes this is just standing around, so it's easy to just open up and take some out, put it on the mini, and call it sort of done. Diluting milliput with isopropanol alcohol to create a goo, which is a great gap filler. I agree. I just sometimes it's really difficult to get it to dissolve, and so it takes a little while. And so sometimes I do that, and when I feel that I can sit and stir something for like 10 minutes, and sometimes I just grab this. I mean, this if left for long enough, not just 10 minutes later, but if you come back to it the other day, it's as pretty much as sandable as the rest of the plastic miniature as well, because all that's left there is plastic. It's just a bit tougher to sand, and if you don't wait for long enough, it's like sanding porridge, which is it's really difficult to try and sand porridge because you get lots of porridge everywhere. That guy in the sky, sincere apologies. No need to apologize. May I ask just two last questions? One, do you do commissions? And two, nostalgia. Is it an important part of the hobby? I don't really do commissions. I don't think I'm a person that could handle commissions. I think I'd take too long, and I'd want to get paid for my time, and so my commissions would probably be more expensive than like getting a actually really like ask Sam Lenz to paint a miniature for you, and it'll probably end up being cheaper than asking me to do it. I guess in a way, I can do commissions because people contact me to make videos about, well, something like this, for example. Is it visible? It is visible. This just actually happened to be around a veil-touched miniature by Dave from Mini Wargaming. Some of his new miniatures that he released on Game Found. It's like a Kickstarter. Tons of great miniatures. And I mean, Dave contacted me and said, like, do you want to do a video on my stuff? And how much money do you want? And because, you know, it's... we appreciate the fact that it takes time to make videos, and so paying someone to make a video is a nice thing. But also companies can just pay you to make a video. When it comes to Dave, I was cheap because I regard him as you know, doing good things for the hobby. But other companies, you know, you just, yeah, they give you money, you make a video. I only do it if I actually like what I'm about to paint, or if I have a good idea. If I don't like the look of the miniatures or whatever it is, I won't do the video. But that's a different subject. In a way, that's commission painting, I guess. Because miniatures end up getting painted in a video. But straight off, sort of, can you paint my army? I can't see. I would, you know, I haven't even painted half of my army, and I started a year back. So, you know, what kind of a commission painter would I be? And there was another question as well, but I forgot. What was that? Oh, the nostalgia. No, I'm not really all that nostalgic, but I do remember where I started, and I do remember having fun. And so I can honor that, but I'm not really nostalgic. There's plenty of things still that I haven't really had time to catch up on in the chat, but it's been 2 hours, and it's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock? I hope not. I hope it's you're feeling well o'clock, but it's 6 o'clock here, you know, in my neck of the woods, and that means I need to go do something else but stream. I'd love to stay, but today I actually have to sort of quickly move on to the next thing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And yeah, please, if you haven't, please click a like on the thumbs up, just so that other people get the chance to see that this stream exists. And I hope I'll see you in another 2 weeks, which is hopefully when the next stream is. And I hope you enjoy the next video release, which should be on Thursday. Bye.